G'day everyone, welcome to today's Property WOD. My name's Michael Beresford from OpenCorp and look forward to taking you through a really common scenario that a lot of people, especially those starting out, want to know more about. Should I buy my own home or should I rent and live where I want to live as a renter and invest in a property portfolio? I'm not here to tell you what to do, I'm just here to give you the scenarios and show you the numbers so everything makes a bit more sense. So let's look at a typical scenario here of owner occupying and renting. So this is the owner occupy scenario. This is the rent and invest scenario. Now, if I was to ask most first home buyers out there, two questions. Tell me the kind of property you'd be looking to buy, how much would it cost you, and how long do you see yourself living in that property for? Then pretty consistently, the two answers are going to be, I'd spend about $700,000 and I can see myself living in that property for about 5 years until my circumstances change. I need to look for something else. So let's use that scenario. In this situation here, if you're an owner occupier, you've only got a single source of income, being your salary, to be able to pay that loan, to service that loan. It's going to be a principal and interest loan, and 100%, as I said, okay, over a 30-year term. The other downside is that it is post-tax. So you're using after-tax money to be able to pay this. Now, let's have a look at what the costs are. Now, if we assume a 6% interest rate, okay, rates aren't always going to be as low as what they are today. 6% interest rate on 700K means that $42,000 a year is interest. Now, having run the numbers previously, $8,000 or thereabouts on this loan figure is going to be the principal component that you have to pay on top of the interest, because this is a principal and interest loan. So each year, this property is costing 50 grand to be able to service, okay, coming out of your pocket post-tax. It's a lot of cash, okay? But obviously there's some benefit to it. So this property is going to grow in value. Now, over a fairly short period of 5 years, we can't be sure or confident that we would get the long-term growth rate of around 8% in Australia, but let's work with that for the purposes of this example. Now, if a property worth $700,000 today is bought and it grows by 8% year on year, okay, the value of that property will become $1.03 million in 5 years from now. If we take away the $700,000 that we paid, excluding stamp duty and so forth, this is just on price, then we're looking at a total there of $330,000 in growth. The final thing that we need to look at, which is really key, is what I call the net position. Okay, so net position is basically another word for return on investment. How much have we made for how much we spend? So our net position here is 330 that we've made, minus 50,000 is what it's cost us to be able to hold that property each year for 5 years. So 5 50s is 250,000. So our net position here is 80 grand. Okay. Now, taking stock of this, if I said to you that you were going to buy an asset worth nearly $750,000, you were going to pump 50 grand a year plus costs into owning this property on an annual basis, and after 5 years, your return would be 80 grand. Does that sound like a good investment? No. Okay. Now again, I'm not saying don't buy your own home, I'm just saying let's make an informed decision today before you do this, rather than 5 years down the track when you realise that you're not as far forward as where you wanted to be. Okay. Let's have a look at the rent and invest scenario. So the kind of properties from an investment perspective, let's say they're $550,000 in value, okay? And we'll compare apples with apples, obviously, and do it over a 5 year period. Now the power with this option here is we've actually got three sources of money, being the rent, being the tax benefits, and being a small amount out of our pocket that can actually go towards holding these properties. Okay, now I'm just going to do a side-by-side comparison here for you, everyone. So costs, as we've said, it's a lot less on today's interest rates, but you should always budget on $100 per week being your contribution to be able to hold one of these properties. If you haven't got $100 a week or you can't prioritize it, you probably shouldn't be doing it anyway. You don't want to be scratching and scraping. Okay, but let's have a look at what this property grows by as well, because that's what we did over here. And I should say, by the way, this is like for like. So $100 a week is what you could expect the holding cost to be if the interest rate was 6% per annum. Likewise, if we take an 8% growth rate here, then 550,000 growing year on year on year actually becomes 808,000. Minus the 550 as the purchase price means that the property has grown by $258,000, okay, in a 5-year period. So if we do the same thing and we look at the net position now, then our growth is 258 minus 5 years of holding cost at $5,000 a year, being the $100 a week. Okay, so 5 fives is 25. Take that off the 258. Means that our net position here is 233,000. So we can see we're significantly ahead. Okay, yes, we've bought an asset that is more cost effective or more affordable, but because we're only paying a fraction of the costs out of our pocket compared to everything, our net position is vastly improved over here. Okay, hope that makes sense. Now, growth is one part of the equation. This is really where the real money's made, but it's really important to consider cash flow. Okay, so if we look at cash flow now, so cash flow over this side, how much are we spending every year to be able to hold the property in this scenario? Well, it's our 50,000 in mortgage repayments. So our cash flow is 50K. Over this side, our cash flow is 5K, being the $100 per week. But we've left something out here at this point, because if we buy an investment property, then we're renting somewhere that we want to live. Okay, so we need to factor that in as well, because if you think about a really nice place that you might want to rent, if this was the kind of property you were looking to buy, $500 a week would probably get you something pretty similar, maybe even slightly nicer. So what we're looking at there is $26,000 each year in rent to live. Okay, now at this point we've all heard it, haven't we? The old cliche, rent money's dead money. Well, who taught us that? People that don't understand compound growth, and builders, because they're wanting everyone to build their own home and generate some business for them. Okay, this money is dead money if you don't do anything else with the rest. It's some of the best money that you'll spend if you use the rest effectively and wisely, and I'll show you what I mean. So our total cash flow over here is 50K, our total cash flow over here is 31,000. Okay, now very, very simply, guys, by living where you want to live, either as a renter or as an owner occupier, and putting your money into property, either your own home or an investment, in this scenario here, we've just put $19,000 extra in your pocket every year. So that's not 19,000 over 5 years, that's total every year. Okay. Now, life's for living. So let's say that we siphon off 9,000 of this to have your annual holiday covered. Pretty nice holiday for $9 grand. Okay. That means that we've still got $10,000 left over. And what do you think we do with that? You're right, I can hear you speaking through the camera at me. We reinvest it, Michael, because we're smart investors. Exactly right. Now, if each property here costs you $5,000 a year, and you've got another $10,000 of available cash flow, then you can hold 3 of these. You can get 3 times the amount of growth, and you can have 3 times the net position for the same money out of your pocket. So in summary, we've got a $700,000 asset here versus $1.65 million worth of asset growing for us over here. We can be more selective about where we buy these because they don't have to be exactly where we want to live. So we maximize our chance of getting growth. And when we look at a $700,000 net position versus an $80,000 net position and our holiday paid for every year, that is why, guys, renting and investing makes the most sense when you're not going to be in your own occupied property for any more than 5 years. Okay, really, for this scenario to work, you need to be in there for 15 years or more. So hopefully that clarified that burning question. What should I do as a first property buyer? Hope that's helped. We'll catch you next time.